Grimdark, Ohio. Just going to do some updates on the Deep Between and some of the things going on here recently. Kind of decided that up until CincyCon, and then see how this thing goes. Maybe thereafter I'm going to do a vlog series, release a video every day, just kind of going over what I'm doing to get prepared for this event, to kind of get it in front of people for the first time, show off some things, just a little behind the scenes what I'm working on, future releases that I'm painting, drawing designs for, start going over some of the kind of the basics of the game. I'll do kind of a quick top-down run through of a stat card. But first, this is something that I'm working on over the last few days, and as I get a little bit of time here and there, and lighting's probably not great, I might put a picture over it instead. But that's Cricket, veteran of the Breach Wars. He's going to be a character for the Mercenary Breachers, just kind of a fast, can be hard-hitting unit, really good at taking objectives, flanking, things like that. So that's on the hobby side, but I've been working on a little bit in the last few days, and kind of getting into the stat card. So I will put it up over this. I'm just kind of winging this video, just kind of rolling with it. So the example I'm going to use is the Mercenary Breacher with rifle. There will be variants of a lot of these models. In the case of the Mercenary Breacher, you'll have a rifle and shotgun variant that we plan to have kind of come out pretty early on. At the very top, you have their name, followed by the keywords associated with the model. So in this case, mercenary, soldier, and tech. Those influence the game in different ways. Eventually, when the core mechanics are better laid out, and some of the supplemental kind of like supportive rules get worked out, there'll be tactics and things like that that influence those. Below it is just an image. Right now it's a placeholder. I don't know if there'll be art or if it'll be renders of the models or what the particular piece will be there. This again is just very early on. You're looking at it from a Sheets image. We're kind of from the very rough early playtest phase. So right below that, you'll see three, what are the core stats here: offense, defense, and utility. Pretty straightforward. Offense is how good this model is at attacking and doing aggressive actions. Defense is, the opposite, how good it is at defending itself, taking damage, avoiding damage. And then utility is kind of the catch-all for everything else. Some models that will be things like spell casting or ability doing, interacting with objectives, things like that. And then next there will be the model's attack profiles, and these are going to be essentially split into two categories that'll cover everything, even if it's a spell or an ability, unless it's something that's kind of not an attack, it will look pretty close to this. So this example, you have the rifle. It says range, so it's a ranged weapon. And then you have, following that, the damage profile, which shows how much it does when it hits and crits, followed by the crit value, which is essentially what you need to succeed in order to get the crit. Get into a lot of that later, just kind of going through quickly. Some of this will make more sense as more of these videos roll out. Next, there is a size here. In the case of this model, it's medium. And then there'll be three size or styles of weapons: light, medium, and heavy. They all interact a little differently. Light weapons are really good at, think like pistols, swords, daggers, small arms. They're quick. You have no reactive penalties when you use those things. Medium, there is a slight downside. You lose some amount of advantage. Again, advantage is something I'll get into dealing with more stuff with the game later. And then heavy, you can't use them for reactive abilities outside of certain circumstances and rules kind of allowing for that. They're a little unwieldy. So that's just kind of how that works for that piece of information there. And then last, there's a little keyword here for the rifle. It's rapid fire. Rapid fire is the ranged equivalent. There is also combo, which is the melee equivalent, and essentially it lets you gain an advantage against the target if you've already attacked that target during this activation. So then below you can see CQB. It's melee. These guys are not good at the old fisticuffs. You can see there's significantly less damage, even if these things don't mean anything to you yet. And you can see that the crit value is higher, so it's harder for this model to even get that measly 4 damage on the crit, which is as much as the base rifle's damage. And then below that are abilities. Every model will have a couple. Some models will have things like reactive abilities for the snap actions, which is a little bit of something that's different with the game. It's a mechanic I'll get into later. But you can see here from this first one, adaptive, at the start of this model's activation, you may choose what core stat it can perform snap actions with until the end of the round. Going back to the core stats, those are the ones above offense, defense, utility. Certain snap actions cannot be performed unless you are basically allowed to do it. So for example, utility interacting, you couldn't move up very quickly and then interact with an objective. Only certain models can do that. That way every model kind of has a role, and it's kind of what I think a simple way, an elegant way to create a lot of variety between pieces, as well as open up things like abilities or tactics cards, spells, things like that can let models do things that they normally couldn't. Do an offensive snap when normally they're defensive or utility. Got 2 more abilities here. One is the aimbot, which is the little thing on his shoulder. It is essentially a little robot that kind of gives them a targeting advantage. And so the way it works is once per turn before this model performs an action. So it'll be before you declare like a movement, before you declare a shoot. It has to be during their turn, and it has to be before they perform an action, so it can't be the last thing they do when they're out of actions for the turn. The model may mark an enemy model in line of sight, so you have to have line of sight. Get into line of sight rules later. The next friendly model to perform a ranged attack against that enemy model gets +1 advantage for the attack. A model can only have 1 mark. So kind of self-explanatory there, even if you don't fully understand the rules. And then the last one here, salvage shield. These guys, being mercenaries, they kind of cobble together what they can. So they get some pretty cool tech, some good tech. It's not always as reliable. At the start of this model's activation, roll a d6 on a 4+. They gain shielded. Shielded reduces the amount of damage taken from ranged attacks. So it can be punched through if they are hit with a sufficiently high amount of damage, and it also does not help you in melee. It's kind of a way to differentiate certain factions. Some factions have very reliable ways to gain shields. Other factions or models, like this Breacher here, it's a little less reliable. And then there's, going to be ways that you can improve that or kind of override that with different rules and abilities. Lots of that to come. And then the last three things here are the cost, size, and health. The cost is the value for when you're doing list building to bring, the cost to bring the model. The size is how large they are, which affects line of sight rules and interacting with the terrain, with movement, and health. The health on this model is 10. 10's on the low side. I think it's actually the lowest right now in the game. These guys are, they're humans, so they're relatively frail. Their shields help in those scenarios, but if they're not playing to their strength, kind of being at a distance, taking shots, kind of moving through the board, tactically, it can really work against you, and that 10 health can get chewed through very quickly. And yeah, that's a really super quick or relatively quick breakdown of what one of these cards look like. There'll be a lot more in-depth, kind of following through, certain things like movement and how that affects the models with size and movement across terrain. You'll notice that there is no move stat on the model. That's because every model has the same movement, unless a keyword says otherwise. It's a way to just reduce mental load. It makes it so that everybody kind of has an idea of what things are moving. That you can just say to your opponent, yeah, this guy's got, he's slow, or he's fast, or, he has a place, and things like that give you a pretty quick idea of how a model works. The same with, the way that the weapons profiles are. You can quickly look at it and just say, okay, it's got these keywords. Very rarely will there be anything that overrides those kinds of things, long, lengthy special abilities that are happening off of attacks and such. That'll be reserved for special characters, and even then, very few and far between. Want to keep the game snappy, fast, less rules, less bloat, the better. Want it to reward good tactical players, and I think that the advantage and snap action system will really help with that. We'll get into that some more in another video. Again, just gonna do a video every day for the next couple weeks coming up to CincyCon, and then depending on how these do and kind of feedback and things like that, I might just keep at it and just run through maybe all the way out to Origins and beyond. Just take 10-15 minutes out of the day to show folks what's going on, go over some simple stuff with the game, things that are changing, because these rules are going to be changing pretty regularly until everything's dialed down from a lot of playtesting. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully you found this interesting and exciting, and I look forward to sharing more.